All right, hi everybody. I'm here today, Peter Wolf, joined by Jason Davel, who runs our Dynamics practice. Jason has done some really cool projects, and one of the things that we want to do this year is just share some of those cool things with all of you so you can get some ideas to do some cool things with your Dynamics. Or if you're looking at Dynamics, maybe give us a call and we can share these ideas with you and you can see why Dynamics is, would you say, Jason, the best CRM product ever?
I would say it's the best CRM product ever. Yeah. And I've worked on
You
multiple
heard
CRMs.
You've heard it from the expert people. So, Jason, what are we going to talk about today?
Hi, everyone. Today I want to talk about something out of the box, goals, and we'll dive into goals a bit and goal metrics, and I'll explain a bit more about that.
Why would a customer want to use goals, Jason? Like, what are they used for?
So, goals is great for a sales professional or salesperson to have a structured way of tracking their sales or their cases or whatever they might be. If they're a customer service agent, it's a very great structured way of tracking it.
So, I'm sure you're going to get into this, but that's interesting. It's not just for sales, it can also track other pieces of data like cases and tickets and things.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing about goals. You could set up a metric to track basically anything. You could track appointments, you could track tasks, you could track opportunities by amount won or the count. You could do cases by count or by whatever you want to do. The metric is very customizable.
All right, well, you've intrigued me. So I will just say, like, a lot of our prospects come to us asking to track salespeople's behaviors and track appointments and meetings and calls and things. That's pretty interesting to me, if this would solve that problem. I honestly don't think people should be doing that because I think focusing on those kind of like metrics of calling is less important than helping the salespeople just sell better, sell faster, make their life easier. But it's good to have a lot of different tools in the toolbox. So are you going to actually you want to pull this up now and just kind of walk us through it?
Yeah, let's pull it up. I'm going to move you to the left quickly.
I'm always getting moved around.
Yeah. I'll share my window. Stay with me. So
No
I know
problem.
you mentioned that you don't like that goals is being tracked for salespeople. I tend to agree in somewhat
Well,
way.
certain just to interrupt, just certain goals,
Goals.
like how many phone calls they've made, but definitely revenue
Yeah,
goals is an important way to track sales activities.
yeah. I believe it's very good to have somebody accountable, and also I believe it's more motivation for a salesperson. So yeah, but let's dive into goals and yeah, let's talk a bit about it. So over here you could see I'm on the goal screen, and you could. This is amazing about Dynamics. Just going off topic a bit is the way you slice and dice your data. You can see I have my views here that I could be setting up as my for myself, or admins can set it up for salespeople as well. So over here I can see goals. So I have goals for quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4 of year 2024. I'm going to be going into the back end quickly on how we do set these up and set up the metrics quickly because I want to talk about that. Like I mentioned before, you could set up the metric to be anything you want. So great. So I'm going to be jumping into the back end. So what you want to do is you want to go to sales area, click down there, go to app settings. I'm going to go into app settings and then scroll down all the way to where you go to, you see performance management. So if you see
Jason,
performance,
is
yeah.
do I need to be an admin to get to this area? And is it always the same in everybody's environment? And then a follow-up question, if you don't mind, is this only Sales Enterprise or is it also the Sales Pro license?
So Sales Pro licenses will have goals as well to answer that question. And then you don't need to be an admin to create goals, but you need to be, I believe, an admin to create custom goal metrics and roll-up queries, which all ties to goals, unfortunately. But
Perfect.
an admin can create it.
Maybe we could do a follow-up session on the advanced security settings of this.
Yeah, no, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go to goal settings first. So this is what an admin would do. As you can see here, the days after the goal end date when the roll up will stop is 30 days. This is out of the box set up like this. The roll up recurrency and frequency in hours is every 24 hours. Unless you manually recalculate the goal, this is when it will recalculate automatically.
What does this exactly mean? Does this mean it's just taking the activity and the data that it's reporting against and like putting like an audit or recording of it every 24 hours?
Not exactly. So basically, what it does is you get a field that is, think of it as a header field, and it ties up all the childs, whether it's a sum or a count to your header field, which is either a amount or a number field, and it recalculates it on a 24-hour basis. So every 24 hours it does an automatic recalculation unless the salesperson manually recalculates it. So that's what it's for.
So essentially, like maybe I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but if I wanted to track how many dollars are in my pipeline, it would look at all the opportunities within a 24-hour period and grab all the dollars from a certain field and then save it in this goal field?
Yes and no. So it's not just for 24 hours or the past 24 hours. It's basically refreshing everything, because a opportunity can be more than 24 hours old, but it only reached a certain status based on the goal metric within the last 24 hours, and then it basically trickles it all up to that field. So I hope that
Okay,
makes sense.
perfect. I think maybe some of this stuff will become clearer as you show more of the details too. So I'll hold any future questions here.
Perfect. So over here again, you see goals. So it's similar to the goals that I showed you in the front app on the sales side in that area. I'm not going to dive into that now. I want to talk a bit more about goal metrics. So if you click on goal metrics, this is basically where you set up your metric. Now, you're going to ask me why it's called a metric. We need to ask Microsoft why it's called the metric. So I believe there might be a lot better names for it, or easier names, but for now, let's just go with the goal metrics name. So
It's basically whatever it is that you want to report on, essentially, right?
correct, yes, yeah. So this is where you do your setting, and your goal would be based off this metric. So whether it's a sales goal or a customer service goal or a goal for the number of tasks, like you can see here, or a number of appointments. You might be an outside sales rep, traveling all the time, and you need to do appointments, and you want to track your appointments. You might have a target of doing certain amount of appointments on a weekly, monthly, or quarterly basis, and that's where you'll set up that metric to basically track that entity's data.
If you're going to dive into one of these, I would suggest we dive into revenue, because I think a lot of the people that watch these videos will be salespeople or owners who really love their revenue.
Yeah, no, of course. And management also always wants to focus on revenue, so I think that's a good one to focus on.
Revenue keeps the world spinning around, doesn't it?
That's true. So over here, I went into revenue. It opens a form. You can see over here the name. It's just called revenue. You can give it any name you want. The metric type, because it's a revenue or a amount field, you would then make the metric type an amount field. When you want to count something and it's not a sum, it would then be a number or a integer value. So yeah,
Are those the three values then? Amount, and
those are the
integer, or
three.
value?
I believe those are the three. Let me just double check. Yeah, it's count and amount. Count is basically an integer value. So yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Going back, let's just discard the changes, and I'm going to go into revenue. So over here you can see the amount data is a money type, which makes it a currency. So it's going to be when it basically after 24 hours, or when it recalculates, that field that it's going to trickle up to is going to be a currency field. Okay. Over here you could put in your roll-up fields. So the nice thing with goals is you could do actual money roll-ups, and you could do in progress money roll-ups, or you could do on hold, or by any status you want. This is very customizable, so you could do it any way you want.
So I'm looking at this. Am I reading this right? That this metric actually has two different subcomponents that are being rolled up: the actual revenue source field and the estimated revenue source field. Am I reading that correctly? So both of those values will be rolled up against this metric?
That is correct, yes. So this metric rolls up the actual revenue, like you said. So this is when an opportunity is changed from status in progress or open to closed, and it's closed as one. Then there's a field on the opportunity that actually becomes actual revenue. So the actual revenue field gets populated. That field is empty as long as it's in progress or open. Then it uses the estimated revenue field, or it might use a custom field based on your preference. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense to me. So you don't have to manage a different metric for all those different fields. You just have one metric bucket, which might have many different fields that you're kind of tracking to evaluate that metric and how we're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can also see those different metrics are tied, or the different rollup fields in the metric is tied to different date fields, because these date fields will also be populated based on the status change. So you'll only have an actual close date when the opportunity is either lost or won, then it has an actual close date. And then estimated revenue or in progress would have an estimated close date. So this is good for
Very
tracking in
cool.
progress money. So, yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. I can dive into this if you want. I can show you what it looks like when you set it up. Just see. Here we go. So again, at the top, it's actual money. You could see it's the rollup field is going to be actual money. You could also do in here a custom rollup. Then you basically build, and I'll dive into this on another call, another session, is custom rollup queries, where you could basically using the search select advanced search to build your rollup query based on, and then it uses a custom one. So based on anything you want. So if you have a lot of custom fields or you want to track something different, you could use custom rollup queries. I'm showing you out of the box today.
I think the key takeaway from a lot of the things you've already talked about is how much flexibility there is in using this tool to get your metrics and report on your metrics and roll up your data. It's pretty cool. I mean, already there's a lot of flexibility with the out of the box.
Yeah. Yeah, Goals is pretty amazing. It's very customizable. A lot of our clients like to use it. Some of them use it on a monthly basis, and I'll get to that on the goal side now, is monthly, and then a lot of them use it on quarterly basis, which is your standard practice to use. But yes, it's very customizable. You could do it however you want. So over here you could see if you set this rollup field up, you need to specify the source record type. So this is the opportunity record, and then the source field. So we will be looking at actual revenue. You can also see there's a couple of other fields if you want to look at total amount, or like if you want to do freight roll-ups, if you need to do a certain amount of freight work, you could do that, and that amount could be rolled up as well. Budgeted amounts, so if you want to do goals on budgets, you could do that as well. But mainly it's for actual revenue and then estimated revenue. That's what most people use it for. Okay. Then the source record type state, it needs to be in a one state. So you could also do lost if you want to. Hopefully, clients don't want to track goals for lost opportunities. We want to encourage them to win the opportunities. Let's not even talk about lost, but let's do one, and then open is the one for the in progress revenue.
I have a question here, Jason. So essentially, if I'm reading this right, you are picking the entity, you're picking which field is kind of the part of that metric, that roll up, and then you're triggering it on a state change. So is it won, or is it lost, or is it in progress? So if it's in progress, if it's not won, it won't track to this roll up field.
That is correct, yes. So if it's not won,
that makes sense to me.
It's not going to show as part of the calculation. So
can you put other conditions on here, like maybe a custom field, like if this thing is flagged from one state to the next, or is it locked into these two states and status fields?
So currently the out of the box is locked to these three current state fields, but if you do roll-up queries, you could do it based on any field. So you might have you could see the status reason field, or the status, which is linked to the state. You might have additional fields that's custom. I would then use the roll-up queries, because it allows you to basically build it out any way you want.
So I got it. So that makes a lot of sense. I mean, most people, it will be triggered on the state or the status field. So that makes a lot of sense for out of the box. And then we'll do a different session down the road with the more flexible options.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect. So then over here you can see the record type. So this is specify the date that determines the goal period. So this is if that date falls within your goal period. So whether it's the actual close date within quarter one, which is then from January 1st until, I believe, April 30th or 31st. What is it?
March
30th
or 31st. I don't.
Yeah.
30 days have September, April. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. We get the idea. You're basically, whatever that date field is, if it falls within the goal period, and the goal period may be monthly or quarterly, I assume maybe even annually, you could That's what's going to define which of those periods it falls into.
That is correct. Yes, exactly. And one other goal that I've seen people track is they basically give salespeople a goal for the amount of, and I know you're not going to like it, but the amount of phone calls they need to do on a weekly
Yeah.
basis or on a monthly basis. And then you would track it on the created on date, or actually, if it, not the created on, but rather the completed on. So the actual close date as well, but on the activity side. So, but if they need to create certain tasks or appointments in a week or in a month, you could do it based on the created on date as well. So,
Very cool. Very cool.
okay. Navigating back, I can just quickly show you what the in progress one looks like. You'll see the only thing that changes is basically the source field and then the state and the date field. Everything else stays the same.
Makes sense, because if it's open, it's still in progress. It shouldn't go to the actuals. It's just what we think is going to hit. And that's why you're also using the estimated revenue field versus the actual revenue field. And you're using the estimated close date, which is the anticipated close date versus the actual close date. So this makes a lot of sense. It's real simple. It's a lot simpler than I thought it was. Thanks for explaining this so well.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad you like it, Pete. It's really amazing. And Dynamics makes it a lot easier for people to do this with either drag and drop or just drop downs. It's really amazing how easy it can be done. I'm going to be jumping back into sales now, and then from a salesperson point of view, access the goals. So I'm going to scroll all the way down again to performance and then click on goals. So for me as a salesperson, I can create my own goals, or we could have management create goals for us, or like sales managers can create goals on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis, depending how frequently you want to do your goals. They could do it easily by clicking new and then adding the goal, or they might have an Excel sheet handy and then you could import it into Dynamics as well. So using the import from Excel.
I'd say this salesperson has got a long way to go to meet their goals, it looks like, if I'm reading this right.
Yeah, no, definitely. Let's jump.
Although I guess their in progress is looking pretty good. It's just they need to start closing some of those down.
They need to start closing their goals, yes. This might not be the best data to show from a salesperson point of view. It looks like he's lacking a bit, but yeah.
This is a person that might need to dust up their resume a little bit.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I'm going to jump into the Q1 just because this is past. So I'm going to show you what this looks like. And the new screen also looks exactly like this. So you could see at the top we have general. Now, I'm not a big fan of all the multiple tabs. I believe that you could incorporate most of these on one page. Yes, we don't want to make the page too big, but also we don't want a lot of tabs. So usually we do clean it up a bit for a customer, but that's usually the customer's preference. So
yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. Like a lot of tabs with very little information, it just wastes space. So
exactly. Yeah. So on the general tab, you could see it has a goal name, and then it could be linked to a parent goal. So you could have a parent goal with multiple child goals, and then based on the actuals or the way it calculates, it only calculates the child goals up. This usually works if you're tracking a goal based on a team or a region. So each individual salesperson might have their own goals, but then it needs to trickle up to the parent goal, which is in a region or a business unit or a team, as an example.
It makes a lot of sense. I know a lot of our prospects and customers that come to us use spreadsheets, and each salesperson tracks their stuff to a spreadsheet, and they send it up to the manager, who then puts it into a single spreadsheet, who then sends it up to their national manager, who then takes all those spreadsheets and puts it into a master spreadsheet. What a huge waste of time. This could just do all that automatically, it seems.
Oh yeah, no, most definitely. Yeah, so this will get rid of all those spreadsheets that needs to be sent around and then gets lost, or the data is changed and then you have an older version. Everything's in the system here. And the nice thing is the integration with your sales process. Like it integrates directly into your opportunity on your opportunity side of the CRM. So no need
I was thinking the exact same thing because it's like natural part of their process. Instead of having to take what they're working on and then transpose it to a spreadsheet, it's automatically pulling the goals from their opportunity data, if I'm reading this right.
Exactly. That's exactly what it's doing. Yeah.
That's nice.
So that's on the parent goal. And then over here is where, remember we spoke about the goal metrics. So you could see we've added a revenue goal in here. So it's tied to the revenue metric. And then it's the goal owner, which you could see as system administrator. That could be you, Pete, or it could be anybody else. And then the manager of this goal, which is usually the sales
What's the
manager.
difference between those two things? Like, how's a goal? Is the goal owner the person like the sales rep, and then the manager would be their boss? Is that kind of
That
the
is
idea
correct.
there?
That's the idea, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, so let's look at the time period. So if I click on time period, you could see you could set up your goal period by a custom period or a fiscal period. Usually it's fiscal period. We do have some customers that want to do it on a custom period where they basically do it on a monthly basis. So then you would select the first of the month and then the last day of the month, and then it's on a monthly basis. For now, I'm just going to show you the fiscal period. And you can see over here it's from 1/1/2024 until the 31st of March for financial year 2024. And this goes all the way up, or all the way down, all the way up to 2038. So once you reach
If
that,
people are forecasting to 2038, God bless them, because that's quite ambitious forecasting.
oh yeah, no, we've had customers that forecast. This was in the past. We've had a customer that forecasted 2 years in advance. So yeah,
Wow.
it's very interesting.
I mean, I know some of our customers are doing manufacturing with big contracts that are multi-year commitments from their customers and prospects, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. So if I go to targets over here, you can see this is where you put in your target. So $300,000. You can see that there. That's the target that they need to reach. You can then see any child goals. So this one does not have any child goals, but if you had child goals or you want to add a child goal, and this might be the parent, like I said, this would be goal then for the team or the region, and then you would add your child goals in here. You could do
I can
that.
see some customers actually might have child goals based on product line too. Like they want to sell a certain dollar amount or percent of a certain new product they're trying to promote heavily. So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could do child goals here, I would imagine. Or I've even seen customers, especially distribution customers, who will do a breakout by sales rep by customer. So if you manage 10 accounts, here's how much we think each of those accounts is going to spend in a given period. So it's a great way to like break out those goals by customer or product line too, I'd imagine.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. You could definitely do that, especially by product. We've seen customers doing that in the past as well. It's also a good way to track it, especially when you launch a new product like you mentioned. So
yeah, makes sense.
okay, I'm going to go to actuals then. So over here, this is where the magic happens. This is where it shows you the actual money. It shows you the in progress money. So remember, we've added two Rollup Fields. The one was in progress and the one was actual. So this is where it trickles up to. So that metric calculates based on the opportunities in those certain states. And then it also shows you on the right hand side a percentage achieved. And then you can see custom Rollup field. So this is when you use custom Rollup queries and you want to maybe do something outside of state and status as an example.
The percentage received or achieved is against the actuals because that's what really matters for this goal, I assume. And I guess I take it back, whoever the salesperson is really crushing it because they're 251% over their target goal. So that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, they did very well in quarter one. So you can see it's about $450,000 over the target that we have in here. So that's why it's 251%.
Nice.
So
nice.
Yeah. And then this is the last roll update. So you can see this is where we spoke about the settings where it happens every 24 hours. So in 24 hours, it's going to run again and recalculate it. But you as the goal owner or the goal manager can recalculate it manually over here. So if I click recalculate, it's then going to recalculate the goals, and it should change this rollup field. And you can see, because I messed with the dates, it threw it out a bit. But yeah, it recalculates the goal.
Oh, now that you just completely ruined that salesperson's commission because you changed your data.
I did, yeah. Luckily, this is a demo
That's
system, so
so no
all
one's
good.
losing out on their commission
Yeah,
checks.
don't do that in
Okay,
production.
good.
Please never do it in production. Yeah. So over here we have the goal criteria. So this is where you set roll up only from child goals. So if this is a parent goal, this would be set to yes. Then it basically
Gotcha.
gets calculated from the child goals.
Makes sense.
Okay. Then the record set for the roll up is the goal owner. So this matches the goal owner with the record that it needs to roll up. So if it's opportunities, it's the opportunity owner. Yeah,
Basically, it's just saying only pull the data for that particular sales rep to
that's
this roll up, which makes sense. Perfect.
that is correct, yes. And then over here, again, I'll talk about this in another session. It's the custom roll-up queries that ties to these.
Interesting.
Over here, you have the trusty timeline in Dynamics. They put it everywhere. So you could
I
add
guess this
notes.
makes sense because then if you submitted your goal, you're like how you're doing to me, I could kick it back a note and say, hey, Jason, can you give me more detail about this one? I thought this was going to close, and we can go back and forth and just have a timeline of those discussions here.
Yes, definitely. You could add the notes in here.
I'm really
Next,
interested in the next one here, participating records. So you can drill down to the actual details.
yes. So because I messed up this goal, it might not show the participating records on actual, but I'll show you on in progress. So you could change the roll-up field from actual to in progress to see what you're busy with, and you could, like you said, drill down into it a bit more. So over here, you could see my opportunities associated view.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was fascinated by that. So that means that you could start at this like real high level 50,000 foot view, and if a sales manager or business owner or even the salesperson themselves wants to go into the details a little bit about, hey, how am I hitting this number, or what are the deals that make up this quarter's number, they can just go onto this tab and just drill right down to those details. That's pretty useful in my opinion.
Exactly. Yeah. And as a sales manager, you could easily come in here and see what sales is the salesperson busy with and jump into
Very
these.
cool.
So, yeah. You can also change
Well,
the
I gotta
view.
say, oh yeah, sorry.
Sorry
Oh,
about
so you
that.
can go, yeah, perfect.
Yeah. You could see different and slice and dice. You see different
So
views.
many views in your sample system here.
Oh, yeah. No, there's a lot of views. I'm not going to show you all of them, but there's a lot of them. So,
I
yeah.
mean, usually we would recommend customers fine tune that to be the views that are most important to them, I would assume,
Oh,
instead of
yeah.
having like 30 views to pick from.
No, definitely. We lock it down to probably 3 or 4 usually on the goals. Yeah. And
So
we,
Jason,
yeah.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
So we basically just change the columns on the different views. So if they want to see more data or less data. So in here, this view, you could see it's focusing on just the revenue, showing you the revenue. The status is really not necessary because it's going to be in progress all the time. And then the estimated close by date. So it's a very shrunk up view, but you can change it if you want to see more data, like last follow up or whatever you want to see. You could add to the view.
Yeah, for anybody watching this who isn't familiar with how views work in Dynamics, we've got a couple videos about how to do views, and there's a lot of flexibility so you can do exactly what Jason's saying here and just show the columns that are appropriate for the view you've picked. So you don't see a lot of extraneous data. I'm part of, in my opinion, the thing I love best about Dynamics is it only shows me the information I need to do my job for whatever I'm doing. So if I'm looking at open opportunities, I only see fields that make sense to that versus closed opportunities. You know, I see the fields that correspond to what's important about looking at closed opportunities. So this is all really great stuff. And Jason, I think like you've already shown a lot here today. So I'd probably say at this point, unless you have any closing comments, I'd say we put a cap on this one. But I really want to say you've really opened my eyes because I don't personally use views here at our company, but maybe now I think maybe I need to start doing them because you made it look really amazing.
Yeah, no, thanks, Pete. I don't have anything else. On another day, I would probably show you different and not revenue goals but different ways as an inside and outside salesperson. You could track your activities. Like I said, I really believe it's a motivation for a salesperson to be able to see they have a target and then also them working towards that target. So whether it's tasks or whether it's revenue or whether it's appointments, if they're an outside salesperson, it doesn't matter. I believe goals fits into any salesperson's day to day. So
I think so too. And the time that is spent right now doing all of this with spreadsheets is astronomical at most of our customers. Just this alone could probably more than offset the cost of a Dynamics license. Just this goal management and getting out of spreadsheets and allowing them to, in a more holistic approach, track their goals and targets with their normal sales process, like you said before. So, like, this is a huge value add. So, I really appreciate you showing this, and I'm looking forward to future sessions.
yeah, awesome. Anytime, Pete. And yeah, if there's any questions, reach out to us if I didn't touch on everything. So yeah, just let me know.
Perfect. Thanks, y'all.